day. Things are fixed, bills are paid. I just want to stay in bed, play video games. But instead, I get up, go to work, put on my pants, hide my shirt, open my car, drive it fast, sit in traffic and jerk a living fast. I've had enough of adulting, no being done for me. When the bills pile up to the ceiling, it's late to the market thing. No, I can't do that. I gotta do the thing. I gotta do the thing. I gotta do the thing. I'm gonna do the thing. Adulting.
Hello, and welcome to Oh My God, Is This Real? First World Problems. Problems of the Rich. A few days ago, I took a medium dose of acid and wrote for several hours straight, and admitted some things to myself, mostly about money. Let's start here. Last August, my mom gave me $100,000 for my birthday. I resented her for this and also suppressed the resentment. $100,000 as a gift. And he hates her for it. Please, can I get hold of your mom? I'll gladly take $100,000. Please. In January, I had thought that I should figure out money and career stuff, and then I proceeded to mostly avoid a topic, occasionally, tentatively, having feelings about it, but not in a very satisfying way. Then I procrastinated on my taxes. Why does it sound like DSP? Mister, I got $128,000 last year, but I'm still broke, guys, so you need to send me more money. I procrastinated on my taxes so hard I was forced to spend the last day before the deadline, mostly having feelings about taxes, to find out why I had procrastinated so hard. What came up was, I don't want to know how much money I have or made, so I can't tell my parents about it. DSP. I don't want to know how much money I made, because when people bring up how much money I've made by doing, math, I gotta deny, and lie, and insult, and ban. It's always funny in his chats where it's like, hey, the past 3 days you made $2,738 just in tips. No, that's not right. You're screwing something up. It's bullshit. It's literally just watching your streams, adding up your tips at the end of the streams. But let's continue with privileged rich person problems. I don't want to tell my parents about my money situation because I don't want them to feel like they failed me. Thinking that thought made me break into tears uncontrollably. Like I want to clarify that this is rare for me. Usually I can turn it off if I want to. So, that was progress. I learned that my feelings about money are intimately tied to my feelings about my parents. I went on to successfully avoid the topic again for several weeks. Then I had to move out of my group house. Your parents gave you $100,000. Why were you living in a group house? Like, what the hell? Again, life gave DSP $1.7 million. And he lives in a shitty condo. Doesn't even have a house. Doesn't have land. Doesn't have anything. Just debt. There was nowhere in particular I wanted to move, so I ended up moving into an Airbnb, which wasn't a very good. Too close to a busy street. Towards the end of my stay, I decided to take a medium dose of acid to see if it could get me unstuck on stuff. And whoo boy. You stayed at an Airbnb? Like, alright, you're going on vacation, you want a place to stay for a weekend. Airbnb can be a good thing. But to just live in one? What? That's gotta be expensive as shit. Oh wait, we forgot, $100,000. I wrote for maybe 12 hours straight and eventually turned into a sort of spontaneous dialogue between the person I am on acid, the person I am sober. Acid me told me a bunch of things I needed to hear but didn't particularly want to. He told me, you've been feeling social pressure to pretend like you have a financial health that's entirely about your savings and your income, and it's not true at all. The truth is that if you ran out of money, your parents would send you more because they love you. The truth is that your finances aren't separate from your parents' finances, and they never have been. You resent your mom for sending you $100,000 because she forcefully reminded you of this fact. This poor baby. Mommy sent him $100,000. How humiliating. You feel like you were told by society that the way making a living works is that you do labor and are paid a fair wage for your labor. That's how you earn the right to exist and be a member of society. You feel guilty because you've never done this. A lot of rich people go through that where it's like, well, granddaddy found the company. Now I get to be CEO without any training. I mean, I went to college, but, that was mostly just blowing hookers. Or blowing hookers, depending on what they prefer. Anyways, But that's not true. You actually do not need to earn the right to exist, and you never have. Reason you're alive right now and not starving to death on the street, even though you haven't had a job in 3 years, because your parents send you money because they love you. And I was like, oh my god, I'm literally Harry fucking Potter. I'm literally being protected by my parents' love in form of money, and I always have been. How incredibly embarrassing. What's embarrassing is your parents had all that money. You probably went to college on their dime, and you haven't had a job in 3 years. Then again, DSP hasn't had a job in 10, so. The truth is that for you, money is a game you play with your parents. The most important thing you do to get money is not piss off your parents so much that they cut you off. And I was like, oh my god, am I a spoiled rich kid? Am I a trust fund baby, kind of? That's even worse, Jesus. Yes. Yes, you are. Before I had this conversation with myself, there was a three-way internal conflict going on between not wanting to think about my parents, various lies I had absorbed from society about money, the actual casual reasons I was alive and not dead. And sort of insane that I might have needed to do all the therapy shit and trauma shit and whatever else that I've been doing over the last 4 years just in order to work up to being able to admit to myself that my parents sent me money because they love me. Wait, you going to therapy? Do you know how expensive that shit is? Goddamn spoiled rich people. My whole picture of the relationship between money and labor and deservingness shifted. At one point, Acid Me said, love is literally more real than money. If people love you enough, they will literally give you money. Is that why DSP's fans give him all that money? Because they love DSP? Gross. And that got me thinking about cam girls and influencers and GoFundMes and all the ways in which money shifts around even though nobody is like building a chair and selling it or whatever. It's relevant background here that I've carried around for a long time a sense of guilt about having disappointed literally everybody who's ever tried to employ me. I don't feel like I've ever been paid for successfully doing the work I was hired to do. DSP. Fired from literally every single job. And that's not a joke, he's been fired from every single job. And that sense of guilt, together with the three-way internal conflict I mentioned above, really getting in the way of any attempts to think about how I should be making money. Nothing seemed good enough. Feels a lot easier to think about now that I'm admitting to myself that the real stakes have nothing to do with not starving to death on the streets. Acid Me said, the truth is, the most important consequence of running out of money will be having to explain it to your parents. There's so many things I had to untangle here, which is why I had to write for so long. One reason this had been hard to think clearly about is I have too much money and too many options for how to make more. Didn't seem like a sympathetic problem to have. Because it's not. Guy's right up there with, how this 22-year-old ended up living in a $500,000 house by the age of 22. Yeah, all I did was get a small $1 million loan from my parents that I didn't have to pay back while working at my mom's charity. It's every single article like that. It's always got a loan from my parents, work for my parents. And it's like, oh, this poor thing, she struggled so hard to get $1 million loan from her parents. Well, in this case, $100,000. Oh, there we go. My parents paid something like $175,000 of tuition to MIT out of pocket because they wanted me to have a good education and a good life. They were paying for all my living expenses in both college and grad school. Never talked about this with anyone, really. I had friends in college who would complain about money problems, and I didn't know what they meant. I was too embarrassed to ask. When they said they couldn't afford X, I don't know if they meant that's not in my budget or I don't have the dollars in my bank account. I mean, that is two different things. It's like, alright, I don't have the money for this. Do you mean, like, you already have everything budgeted and you're saving up for something else? Like, I want an electric bike. So it's like, yes, I could pre-order the Steam Deck thing, but it's not in my budget right now. Then I don't really want one because I don't mobile game. If I'm not at home, I'm doing something, so But still, like, this is my budget for all my bills, and then here's what I'm saving up for an electric bike. So I don't have the budget, that's not in my budget for the Steam Deck. But it's not a case of DSPs, I don't have $20. I don't have $20. I spent it all on WWE Champion, snort. I recognize that I'm speaking from a position of extreme privilege here, but this wasn't all upside. My parents took care of me materially at the expense of taking care of me emotionally. Wah. Mommy and Daddy only paid for everything in my life. It took me until this trip to even kind of experience the money they spent as an act of care. S and me said, the rest of these have been paraphrases, but this one is a direct quote. Your parents created a world for you where the most real thing was how they felt about you. They successfully used money to make everything else less real by protecting you from it. Like, I kind of get why they did that, but it led to me being incredibly sheltered in a bunch of ways. They never even made me do chores. I was very spoiled in retrospect. It wasn't good for me. Gee, who was it that until the age of 35 couldn't do his own laundry? Alright, DSP. Anyway, I could keep going. A lot of stuff came up, but I feel like I successfully resolved a big confusion that was preventing me from making progress on my life, and that feels nice. I feel like I'm a little bit more confronting the actual stakes regarding money. The stakes are that the less money I make, the harder it'll be for my parents to retire. DSP's dad still works full time according to DSP. Mind you, while his mom sends him money and pays for the trip out to Connecticut and pays for the wedding and pays for everything else. Daddy's still working. They will never be able to retire. Sad face. A few days later, I wrote, this was never a one-player game. It was always a multiplayer game, and I spawned already in the guild containing my parents who had already been playing for 30 years. Yeah, that sounds about right. The other stakes are about dignity. Asami said, you need dignity much more than you need money. And that sort of thing blew me away a little, like, shit. Wow. And then you get to the replies. You refuse to give money to a woman on the street because she didn't cry. Yeah, that lady asking for money would have been on excellent time to work on any I have money, I don't deserve feelings. I would do to the library $20 for food when I was having trouble feeding myself. You've been given so much, and what do you have to show for it? You feel bad because all you do is consume what you never earned. Do something with it. The absolute least you can do is invest it to someone who can put it to good use, and then your returns will be earned. A few days ago, I took a medium dose of acid and wrote for several hours. Yeah, that's privilege. That is very much privilege right there. Do you know how hard it is to get acid nowadays and how much it costs? Sheesh. Oh, that's probably a regional thing. But goddamn. Can you imagine these first world problems? Guys, my girlfriend left me. Now I gotta do my own laundry. I don't know how to do laundry. No joke. When DSP had his Connecticut condo, his mom would come over and clean and do his laundry for him. He didn't have to clean his condo. He didn't have to do his laundry. His mom would come over and clean it and do his laundry for him. Then when he moved to Seattle, he had Panda do the laundry and cleaning. And then when she left, he panicked because he didn't know how to clean or do his own laundry because he never had to do chores before, much like this Manbaby. Oh my god. Like, the fact that DSP and this guy just, like, am I reading about DSP or am I reading about this guy? How to tell? Well, this guy didn't snort or say ack, ack, ack in his post, so. Oh, man. My parents gave me $100,000. Okay, don't rush judgment. Keep reading. I've had a job in 3 years. Oh, fucking Christ. DSP. Yeah, my mom gave me $10,000 to pay down on my taxes. By the way, I had a job in 10 years. Sheesh. Alright, I'm gonna let you guys. I just had to read this off because it's just so much like DSP. First world problems. My parents only gave me 100,000. First world problems. I didn't reach the typical 3 streams in a row. First world problems. Alright, I'm gonna let you go. As always, like, subscribe, comment down below, and have one hell of a day.